What can pride do to a person? In this video, we are starting our study in the Book of Esther, and we're going to be looking at how pride and power help set the stage for Esther, an unlikely Jewish woman, to become Queen of Persia. If you're up for that, then stay tuned. Hello friends and family. If we haven't met yet, my name is Hannah of Hope and Future Bible Devotions, where we study timeless biblical truth during the changing times. Let's start with context. First of all, the Book of Esther may appear after the Book of Nehemiah, but the events it describes actually took place 30 years before Nehemiah. The setting of the Book of Esther was during the Medo-Persian Empire after they've conquered the Babylonians who took the Jews captive. The Persian king during that time allowed for the Jews to go back to their homeland, but some Jews stayed in Persia. More about that in this series, but let's talk about Esther 1, and King Ahasuerus is introduced here. In my personal study, I was able to find 3 major themes, all referring to this king. Let's dive in. The first part talks about power and vanity in verses 1 to 9. King Ahasuerus was so full of himself. He ruled over a vast kingdom stretching from India to Ethiopia. This was a powerful empire. The opening verses describe a king putting his wealth, luxury, and glory on full display. We're told that he showed the riches of his royal glory and the splendor and pomp of his greatness for many days, even up to 180 days. That is a very long time to put on a display. Then after that, he hosted another feast for 7 days in the citadel of Susa. The description is full of impressive details: white cotton curtains, violet hangings, marble pillars, golden vessels, costly furnishings, and royal wine served in abundance. This is more than hospitality. This is definitely a display of status. And this is power being used to impress people. And that's important to notice because power by itself is not evil. Authority is not automatically wrong. But when power becomes centered on self-glorification, it turns into vanity. Instead of being used wisely, it becomes something to be shown off. And that can happen in our lives too. Maybe not with palaces or royal banquets, but in more ordinary ways, and maybe in whatever we own. Is there something we tie our identity to aside from God? Is there anything in our possession that we think makes us more influential, so we could receive the admiration and the praise that we think will make us satisfied? Esther Chapter 1 begins by showing us a ruler who seems very strong on the outside, but as the chapter continues, we'll see that underneath all the display is insecurity, pride, and poor judgment. The second part is authority and dignity, found in verses 10 to 12. After this great feast, the king becomes merry with wine and commands that Queen Vashti be brought before the people so they can look at her beauty. She was lovely to look at, and the king wanted to display her, just as he did display all of his other possessions. But Queen Vashti refused. This is where the tension in the chapter becomes very clear. The king had authority, but Vashti still had dignity. And this moment shows us that not every command given by authority is honorable. The text doesn't give us all of Vashti's thoughts, but her refusal creates a serious turning point. She would not allow herself to be treated like part of the king's display. This is one reason Esther Chapter 1 can speak so powerfully even today. It reminds us that people are not objects. Human dignity matters. And sometimes what looks like rebellion on the surface may actually be a refusal to participate in something dishonorable. The king is used to being obeyed, he is used to being admired, but suddenly, in front of others, he's told no. And pride does not respond well when it is challenged. Verse 12 said he was enraged, and his anger burned within him. How do we treat other people when we have some form of authority? And how do we respond when we're told no? But also, think from the point of view of Vashti. How do we respond when our dignity is put under pressure? Surely the way we handle any authority and the dignity we have or others around us matters. That brings us to the third section: fear and ego. Those are in verses 13 through 22. Let's just remember first that King Ahasuerus was already not in a stable state of mind. He's been drunk for the past several days, and he was also enraged and burning with anger. Alcohol and uncontrolled anger, not a good combination. Then, after Vashti refuses, the king turns to his wise men and asks what should be done. So we see here a king that doesn't know how to decide for himself, too. What follows is not wisdom rooted in justice. It is advice shaped by fear, insecurity, and ego. His advisors immediately exaggerated the situation. They say that Queen Vashti's actions will be heard by all women throughout the empire, and as a result, wives everywhere will despise their husbands. So what begins as one moment in the palace becomes, in their minds, a full-blown social crisis. And isn't that what fear often does? It enlarges a problem. It magnifies it. It turns one wound to the ego into something much bigger than it really is. So instead of handling the matter with restraint or wisdom, they create a royal decree. Vashti is removed from her royal position, and letters are sent throughout the empire declaring that every man should be master in his own house. Wow, intense. And this is one of the clearest lessons from Esther Chapter 1. When pride is bruised, people often overreact. When ego takes over, wisdom disappears. And when fearful people are in positions of influence, their decisions can affect many others. What looks like a personal conflict becomes a kingdom-wide decree. And even here, in the midst of all this chaos, God is already at work. The Book of Esther is famous because the name of God is never directly mentioned, and yet his providence is everywhere. Behind the king's pride, behind Vashti's refusal, behind the fearful overreaction of the advisors, God is quietly setting the stage for what will come next. By the end of this chapter, the throne beside the king is empty, and that empty place is preparing the way for Esther. So what do we take away from Esther Chapter 1? First, vanity can make power look impressive on the outside while hiding weakness on the inside. Second, authority should never erase human dignity. And third, fear and ego often lead to exaggerated and harmful decisions. But above all, this chapter reminds us that God can work even through flawed people, prideful leaders, and messy situations. Human beings may act in vanity, in fear, in self-importance, but God is still sovereign. He is still moving history according to His purposes. Maybe you've seen situations in life where pride caused damage. Maybe you've watched people make rash choices out of ego or insecurity. Esther Chapter 1 reminds us that even when human behavior is disappointing, God is not absent. He is still working behind the scenes. And that truth gives us hope. If you were blessed by this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who would enjoy studying the Bible with us. And if you'd like, let me know in the comments what stands out to you most in Esther Chapter 1. And if you're looking for ways to support this ministry even more, check out the description below. Next time, we'll continue in Esther Chapter 2 and see how God begins to position Esther for a purpose much greater than she could have imagined. Our hope and future is in Jesus. See you in the next video.